One rainy day, our protagonist Yusato was sitting in school. At that time, he was supposed to leave, but because of the rain, he had to sit by the school gate, feeling bored with everything happening in his life these days. He wished he could be transported to another world, where he'd have magic that could make him happy. Yusato wondered if all the other students his age had similar wishes or thought the same way he did. At that moment, he overheard the students behind him talking about the top 2 students in the school, who were passing by together, the student council president and her assistant. The students praised the president, saying she was incredibly smart, had taken many courses, and was excellent at everything. When Yusato saw her, he thought she was amazing. The students also talked about her assistant, saying he was great, active, and handsome, a 10 out of 10, in their words. Seeing him, Yusato wondered how this guy could be perfect at everything. As the president and her assistant passed by Yusato, she noticed him and asked if he had an umbrella. Yusato was surprised they noticed him. He stood up nervously, stammering that he didn't bring one, and asked why she was asking. She told him that all students were required to leave the school at that time. Yusato got more nervous and said he was about to leave. But as he was about to go, the president stopped him. She told him that leaving in the rain like that would damage the student council's reputation. Her assistant, Kazuki, then offered, saying, "Don't worry, I'll lend him my umbrella." The president, Suzumi, asked Kazuki, "Do you know him?" To which he replied, "Yeah, he's my classmate." Yusato was surprised and thought, "This is the first time we've talked." He realized that Kazuki was actually a very kind person. Yusato took the umbrella from Kazuki and thanked him. They laughed together afterward, deciding to walk home together. Yusato was shocked that he would be walking with the 2 most famous students in school and thought that the entire school would be jealous of him. Suddenly, as they were walking, they heard bells ringing everywhere. But Yusato couldn't hear the same sound as Kazuki and Suzumi. They couldn't figure out where the sound was coming from, but Yusato kept telling them he couldn't hear anything. Out of nowhere, a magical circle appeared beneath them, glowing intensely, and transported them to another world. The 3 of them woke up in front of a king and his entourage. Kazuki asked Yusato if he was okay, and Yusato replied, "Yeah, don't worry. But where are we, and who are these people?" Kazuki responded, "Honestly, I have no idea. I'm with you." Yusato looked at Suzumi and saw that she was incredibly excited. She told him, "You're right, Yusato. This really does look like another world." The king then spoke, saying, "You've finally woken up. I'm sure your sudden arrival here has confused you." Kazuki, angry, shouted, "Get to the point. Who are you, and what did you do to us?" The king responded, "I understand your frustration, but please hear me out." He introduced himself as Lloyd Flogast, the king of the kingdom of Linger. Suzumi, still excited, wasn't worried at all. The king continued, explaining that they had summoned them to the kingdom of Linger to be heroes. Kazuki was surprised by what the king said, but Suzumi was thrilled. The king went on to explain that 2 years ago, the demon king attacked them and took their land with his army. Although they managed to push them back, the demon king was still growing stronger, and they didn't know what he would do next. That's why they used a forbidden ritual called the hero summoning to bring in exceptional individuals from another world who could face the demon king. Kazuki shouted, "Are you serious? How could you just summon us without our consent? Send us back to our world right now." The king apologized but explained that it wasn't possible, as the hero summoning only worked one way. It could bring people here, but it couldn't send them back. Kazuki asked, "So what are we supposed to do now? We all have families back home." The king apologized again, saying they truly needed them. Kazuki shouted once more, "Don't think for a second that we'll accept your apology." Suddenly, the guards pointed their weapons at him. At that moment, Yusato intervened, saying, "I get that you're angry for our sake, but fighting them won't do us any good." Kazuki finally calmed down. The king knelt down in front of them, apologizing again for what they had done, and assured them he would find a way to send them back. In the meantime, he asked for their help. Suzumi then asked if she could ask the king a question, saying, "Why do you call us heroes when you don't know anything about us?" The king called for his assistant, a woman named Wellesley, who explained that the hero summoning circle was specifically designed to choose exceptional individuals. She also mentioned that they likely heard bells ringing when they were summoned, indicating they were heroes. Kazuki and Suzumi were intrigued, but Kazuki said, "I remember Yusato didn't hear anything." Yusato, feeling nervous, thought to himself, "Does that mean I ended up here by accident?" Wellesley then asked them to place their hands on a magical crystal to measure their magical abilities. Kazuki teased Yusato, asking if he was nervous. Yusato replied, "Well, Wellesley said I might be able to use magic even though I'm not a hero." Kazuki laughed, telling him, "You're ridiculous. You didn't even want to come to this world in the first place, and now you're worried about magic?" Yusato shrugged, saying there was no point in getting angry. He thought that maybe magic would give him something to focus on. At that moment, they saw Suzumi excitedly approach the crystal. They decided to follow her positive attitude. Wellesley activated the crystal and asked Suzumi to place her hand on it. When Suzumi did, a strange golden light emanated from the crystal. Wellesley told her that the color symbolized a strong affinity with lightning magic and that she had an incredibly high amount of magical energy. Next, it was Kazuki's turn. He placed his hand on the crystal, and a white light shone from it. Wellesley explained that his magic was light magic. Kazuki asked her what light magic was used for, and Suzumi excitedly explained that he could use it to fire laser beams or even create swords from light. Suzumi told Kazuki that light magic was incredibly powerful, especially against demons. Finally, it was Usato's turn, and he felt a bit nervous. He wondered if he had any magical power at all and wished he had some so he could help Suzumi and Kazuki. When he placed his hand on the crystal, a green light, resembling the color of emeralds, appeared. But when they asked Wellesley what the color meant, she seemed visibly frightened. She grabbed Usato by the hand, saying to herself that she needed to tell him something. Afterward, she went to the king, Lloyd. The king asks her about Kazumi and Suzumi, and she informs him that they are doing well with their magic. Then he asks, "What's the problem with Usato? Don't tell me he's compatible with dark magic," and starts laughing. Wellesley becomes even more nervous and tells him that the crystal turned green. The king, along with the guards, is shocked and asks if she's sure. Wellesley replies, "Yes, it means Usato is compatible with very rare magic." The king tells her, "Don't say anything more. We need to handle Usato and send him somewhere safe," wondering where the safest place for him could be. Usato, confused, asks, "What's wrong, guys? You scared me. Is there something wrong with my magic? Is anyone else here with the same magic?" Suddenly, a woman enters the hall, and everyone, even the king, seems afraid of her. We learn that her name is Rose, and she asks the king about the summoning. She approaches Usato and asks him, "Are you a hero or what?" The king quickly interrupts, saying, "No, he's not a hero. Just some idiot who ended up here by accident." Wellesley then tells Rose that the heroes are in the magic orb room and she will take her to them. Rose listens and follows Wellesley. The king turns to Usato and says, "Look, Usato, I'll arrange a room for you to rest in while I figure this out." Usato agrees but asks, "I still don't know what type of magic I have. What does the green color mean?" Rose overhears him and tells the king, "I'll borrow this guy." The king tries to keep Usato away from her, instructing Wellesley to cast a spell that sends Usato away from the castle. But Rose quickly catches up to him, telling the king not to worry. "I'll make this guy a true healing mage." Later, Wellesley informs Usato's friends about what happened, explaining that Rose took him to the rescue team behind the castle. She adds that the crystal indicated Usato has healing magic, which is very rare, and Rose wants to personally train him. Suzumi, excited, asks, "What's the problem with that? I don't see anything wrong." Wellesley explains that Rose's training methods are a bit different. Meanwhile, Rose tells Usato that he's a healing mage and that she'll train him. "This house will be your home from now on." She then calls her subordinates, instructing them to welcome Usato. But they don't seem very friendly, greeting Usato in an odd way. Rose hits them, telling them not to scare the newbie. She introduces Usato to her team, explaining that they aren't healing mages, but there are others in the rescue squad who are. She says, "That's why I'm going to train you in healing magic." Usato, nervous, asks, "Can someone else train me?" But she tells him training starts tomorrow. After she leaves, her subordinates warn Usato, saying, "You're gonna die tomorrow. She's gonna train you herself." That night, Usato worries about the training but reassures himself that everything will be fine. He falls asleep, ready for the next day's challenge. At the same time, Rose is still awake, thinking to herself, "Now that a healing soul mage from another world has arrived, let's see what he can do." When Usato wakes up, he thinks it was all a dream, but soon realizes that he really has been transported to another world. Later, one of Rose's subordinates informs him that some guests have arrived for him. When he steps out to see who it is, he finds Kazumi and Suzumi. They tell him they were worried because they heard he had been kidnapped. Usato reassures them that he's fine, but when he thinks about Rose, he feels a bit scared. However, he tells them that he wants to get through the training to prove he can be useful. Suzumi gets excited too, telling him that they're starting their training today as well. After that, Kazumi thanks Usato and tells Suzumi that he's going to give his best in this world. Usato is happy to have them by his side and thinks to himself, Kazumi must be going through a lot after suddenly being called a hero. Suzumi, on the other hand, is thrilled to live in this new world. Usato wishes he could grow stronger to support them one day. Suddenly, Rose appears and hands Usato a notebook, telling him to write down the training they're about to do and how he feels about it. She informs him that training will start after breakfast. After breakfast, Yusato goes out to train with Rose, only to be surprised that the training is easier than expected. When Rose tells him to focus, he feels a warm sensation near his heart. Rose explains that the warmth is mana, and he needs to learn how to release it from his body. Then, she gives him a book, but Yusato realizes he can't read the language of this world. However, when he opens the book, he's shocked to find that he can read it perfectly. Rose explains that heroes summoned to this world are automatically given a translation spell. She points to a section in the book, telling him that it's about the kingdom of Linger, and across the river is the enemy, the Demon King's kingdom. She then tells him to read the book to learn the basics about the creatures in this world. The next day, Yusato spends the entire time running, confused as to how it helps his magic. On the third day, he runs until his legs hurt and collapses. Rose approaches him and asks, "Who told you to stop?" and hits his legs before healing them with magic. Yusato is shocked that his muscles have healed, and Rose tells him to get back to running. By the fourth day, Yusato continues running alongside the team. They mock him for being slow, and even Rose makes fun of him, which frustrates Yusato, though he says nothing. On the fifth day, Yusato keeps running without stopping, and when he collapses, Rose teases him again. Suddenly, healing magic starts emitting from Yusato's hands. The next day, Rose continues to hit him, and poor Yusato has no idea how to deal with her. Even the day after that, Rose keeps hitting Yusato, so he uses healing magic on himself but notices he doesn't feel anything. He realizes that this is the importance of healing magic and feels more confident, returning to running. On the next day, Yusato continues running, using healing magic to treat himself for exhaustion, but he's still anxious about the running. He wonders how running improves his magic power. Just after that, Rose demands that he increase his laps by 30 more and at a faster pace. Yusato becomes frustrated but still can't say anything. On the 11th day of training, Rose adds an extra exercise, and Yusato suddenly finds healing magic radiating from his entire body. At this moment, Rose explains to him that the reason he's been running every day is so he can run at full speed when attacked by enemies in battles. This is also to help him save his injured comrades in battle. Once Yusato understands the importance of these exercises, he starts training better than before. On the 12th day, Yusato runs until noon, then starts doing push-ups, and this time, he feels his body has become lighter. When Rose notices this, she realizes that he has started to get used to the tough training, so she adds some weights to his body while he runs to make the training harder. The next day, Yusato is surprised to find that his lunchbox is missing, so he asks his friends where it is. One of them says cheekily, "Yeah, I ate it." Yusato gets really angry and wants to hit him, but Tongue informs him that fighting within the rescue team is strictly prohibited. But Yusato doesn't stop, chasing after him to hit him. That's when Yusato realizes that Rose did this to make him get used to the extra weights. A while later, Kazuki and Suzumi come to visit Yusato, but this time, they have brought along a strange knight. When they see Yusato training, they are shocked at how harsh the exercises are. At this moment, Yusato is doing push-ups with a massive stone block on his back, and above that, Rose herself is sitting. Yusato, the fool, pretends not to feel Rose's weight and says, "You're so light, aren't you?" Rose gets off the block and places another stone block on it, making Yusato's back feel like it's about to break. But Yusato isn't just anybody, so he uses his healing magic and manages to lift the weight with great effort. Kazuki and Suzumi are completely stunned by what's happening, but Suzumi, the silly one, is impressed by Yusato's newly developed muscles. The knight, however, is extremely angry at what Rose is doing and says, "You're destroying the future of a great young man." Rose replies, "I have my own method of training, and Yusato is going to be my right hand when he grows up." Yusato is shocked by what he hears. Rose continues, "Yusato is a true discovery, and I love his hatred for losing and his refusal to give up." Yusato is even more surprised, as this is the first time Rose has ever praised him. Then, Rose tells him, "All right, go rest for a bit and hang out with the guests." Afterward, Knight Linus speaks with Kazuki and Suzumi, telling them, "Look after Yusato until I get back. I need to have a word with Rose." Later, they all sit together, and Kazuki explains to Yusato that Knight Linus leads the kingdom's army and is considered the strongest knight in the kingdom. He is also the one who teaches them swordsmanship. Yusato then asks them about the girl who's with them, and she introduces herself as the princess of the Linger Kingdom. Yusato quickly apologizes for his behavior, but the princess says, "No need for that. I don't like it when people talk to me too formally." The princess then offers them a delicious cake, and they are all excited and start eating together. Kazuki asks Yusato if he does this kind of training every day. Yusato replies, "Oh, come on, man, today's training was actually light compared to what I usually do." Kazuki tells him, "We also go through tough training, but Knight Linus and the mage, we'll see, take our safety into consideration during it. Kazuki then asks Usato if he's doing alright there. Usato responds, honestly, at first, I didn't like the place and always wanted to run away, but now I've gotten a bit used to the team and the training. Life here isn't as hard as I thought. He adds, I just hope I can help you guys when you go to war. At this point, Tung shows up and offers Usato another lunch to replace the one he ate earlier. But Usato is still upset with him, and they start playfully fighting each other. Kazuki and the others think about helping him, but they realize that Usato is really into it and having fun, so they decide to leave him and head back to their training at the castle. After that, Usato is taking a bath in the facility, wondering if he can really help his friends in battle with his power. The next day, Rose throws a bag at Usato and tells him to get ready because they're heading out. She takes him outside the city, and Usato asks, where are you taking me now, woman? She tells him to shut up and follow her quietly. Eventually, they arrive at a forest, and Rose explains that this forest is full of monsters, and he has to kill the big bear in it. Usato is shocked, knowing that the bear is incredibly strong and tough to beat. But Rose doesn't care and tells him that he can now defeat it easily. She then picks him up and throws him into the forest. Usato is flying through the air, feeling like he's about to die. He remembers how everyone will make fun of him if he dies because Rose killed him. But Usato refuses to die here and uses his healing magic on himself, managing to land safely. He heals some of his injuries from the fall. Usato then thinks to himself that he can't return from the forest without completing Rose's mission, but he's terrified of the bears. However, Usato tries to encourage himself, calling the bears weak and stupid animals that he'll easily defeat. But before he can finish his thought, he spots a bear charging at him. Usato freaks out and starts sprinting faster than a cheetah. He remembers how he's become faster now and assumes the bear won't be able to catch him. Yet again, before he can finish his thought, he realizes the bear is gaining on him. At that moment, Usato recalls everything he's been through and realizes that this bear is nothing compared to what Rose has done to him. So he stops and gathers his courage to fight the bear. He's about to face it when suddenly, he's shocked to see that more bears have appeared and are now chasing him as well. Usato has no choice but to run again, but this time, he hears the sound of a waterfall nearby. He decides to run toward it and jump into it to escape the bears. He manages to survive as the bears finally leave him alone. That night, Usato dries his clothes and realizes he has nothing but a useless knife, and even the bread he has become too hard to eat. Usato knows that he must defeat the big bear to pass this mission, but he thinks it's impossible. Afterward, he falls asleep. When he wakes up the next day, Usato starts searching for the big bear's lair until he finds claw marks on the trees, which are clearly from a bear. That's when Usato hears a nearby animal sound, and when he goes to check it out, it turns out to be nothing more than a small rabbit. As the rabbit hops out from the tree where it was hiding, Usato notices that it appears injured, with a wounded leg. He asks the rabbit if it's alright, only to be surprised when he realizes that the rabbit can actually understand him. Immediately, Usato heals the rabbit's wound and resumes his search for the giant bear. However, he soon finds that the rabbit is now following him. Usato tries to convince the rabbit to stay back, warning it about the dangerous monsters he's hunting, but the black rabbit pays no attention and continues to run after him. The rabbit seems to know where the giant bear is, so it leads Usato directly to its location. Sure enough, the rabbit guides him to the den of the bears, where Usato discovers that they are a whole family. He then goes off to search for water, but finding none nearby, he's forced to drink directly from the lake. After a while, Usato starts to feel that the bears are actually friendly creatures living happily together. But then, he feels an intense pain in his stomach and realizes it's because of the contaminated lake water. Even his healing magic doesn't seem to work, as Usato can't cure poison. Just then, the black rabbit shows up again, and despite Usato's pain, he's glad to see the rabbit. The next day, the rabbit leads him to a fresh, clean water source where Usato can finally drink properly. But suddenly, the rabbit freezes in fear, sensing a dangerous presence nearby. As they search for the source of this fear, Usato is shocked to find that the creature in question is a massive snake-like monster. Terrified by the serpent's overwhelming killing intent, Usato tells himself that it's best not to engage. For the next 4 days, Usato is unable to shake his anxiety and continues to simply observe the great bear from a distance. He's happy just watching the bear family, but he knows he can't leave without killing the giant bear. So, for the first time, Usato makes the decision to fight the great bear tomorrow. As a heavy rainstorm begins, Usato prepares to set out, but the black rabbit stops him. He decides to heed the rabbit's warning and stays put for now. The next morning, Usato heads out to kill the bear, brimming with newfound confidence, but the rabbit senses something strange. When Usato arrives at the den, he is horrified to find that all the bears have been slaughtered. He realizes that Rose will kill him for failing the mission, but then notices massive bite marks on the bears. He deduces that the giant snake is responsible for the massacre, not to eat them, but just for the thrill of killing. Suddenly, Usato spots a lone cub hiding among the rocks, visibly devastated by the loss of its family. Usato thinks, I may be mad at Rose or upset that the snake stole my kill, but the thing I'm angriest about is this poor bear cub. He can't accept what he's seeing, and in a fit of rage, decides to get revenge for the bear cub. Meanwhile, Kazuki and Suzumi decide to visit Usato, but Tong tells them, he hasn't come back yet. He's been gone for 10 days. Both Kazuki and Suzumi are shocked by this. As they leave, Kazuki grows increasingly worried about Usato, but Suzumi reassures him, as long as Usato is under Rose's care, he'll be fine. I trust him to return safely. Back in the forest, Usato is eating and preparing for his battle with the giant snake. He sharpens a wooden spear and asks the black rabbit to lead him to the snake. The rabbit is scared, but Usato convinces it, saying, just take me there, and then you can run away if you want. The rabbit agrees. They search for the snake until they find it, but Usato is shocked to see the bear cub approaching the serpent on its own, intent on fighting it. The cub is furious over the loss of its family, but the snake looks even more terrifying, reminding Usato of Rose's intense gaze. There's no way we'll lose, Usato thinks. Nothing scares me more than Rose. With that thought, he charges at the serpent, but his attack is reckless, and the snake almost bites him in half. Usato barely dodges at the last second. Taking advantage of the moment, Usato stabs the snake in the eye with his spear. But the snake retaliates, striking him with its tail and sending him crashing into a tree. Usato quickly uses healing magic to recover and decides to attack the snake from its blind side, targeting the wounded eye. The snake, however, is smarter than him. It tricks Usato and manages to bite his arm. Despite the pain, Usato refuses to give up. He pulls out his knife and plunges it into the snake's mouth. The snake retreats, but Usato notices that its venom is now coursing through his veins, causing him to feel dizzy. Fortunately, because he was previously poisoned by the lake water, he is now resistant to poison. With renewed determination, Usato attacks the serpent again, this time with help from the bear cub. Together, they manage to knock the snake unconscious, but Usato doesn't stop there. He drives the spear deep into the snake's other eye, and the cub holds it down until they're sure the monster is dead. Afterward, the cub approaches Usato, grateful for his help in avenging its family. But suddenly, the snake springs back to life and attacks them. At that moment, Rose appears and finishes the snake off, turning it into a leather belt. She explains to Usato that the black rabbit had informed her of everything and that the rabbit is actually her pet, who had been deceiving Usato the entire time. Usato is shocked, saying, but the rabbit was injured. Rose laughs, you fool, it was just pretending to gain your trust. She goes on to explain, I didn't expect this monster to show up now. It's actually a creation of the demon kingdom. Rose tells Usato that the snake is so powerful that it could wipe out an entire battalion, leaving Usato stunned. He asks, then why did you make someone like me, a beginner, fight it? Rose replies, I did it so you could gain experience fighting something much stronger than you. After that, they head back home. Along the way, Rose stops and says to Usato, you're now ready to fight alongside me on the battlefield. You have what it takes. She adds, this is important because the army of the Beast King will be attacking soon. Meanwhile, in the Beast Kingdom, we see the Beast King speaking with his assistant, telling her that they will soon launch an attack on the kingdom of Linger. After leaving the Beast King's chamber, a figure named Hearlock approaches the assistant and mocks her for being anxious. She snaps back, if you have time to mock people, you should focus on your work, and walks off without paying him any attention. Hearlock, however, tells her that he's just finished his latest creation, a new model of demon monster, and takes her to see it. It turns out to be an enormous serpent with razor-sharp fangs. The assistant dismisses it, saying, all your snakes end up fleeing. Even the one you made before was defeated by the knight Silas and ran away. Hearlock insists that this snake is different and far more powerful than anything they've encountered before. She hopes that, this time, he succeeds in creating a truly strong serpent. She knows that there are people in the kingdom of Linger stronger than Silas. Afterward, they talk about Rose, saying that she's always on the front lines, healing people constantly, but despite that, she's a top-tier fighter. She's frustrated with her and vows to eliminate her. The demonic doctor tells her that she's the commander this time, so she can't even go to the battlefield. She responds by saying she won't go this time, but she'll send them the eternal dark mage, the Black Knight. At that time, Usato is at home, very happy to have returned to his family. Later, he wakes up his bear, Blorin, and gives him some strange fruit for breakfast. It tastes delicious to both of them. The black rabbit appears, wanting some of the fruit, but Usato is still upset with him, not forgetting how he was manipulated earlier. In the end, though, the rabbit manages to get the better of Usato, appealing to his soft side, and makes him give up some fruit. Then Rose shows up, slightly surprised by the name Blorin. She tells Usato that King Lloyd has approved him to be part of the rescue team now. But she also gives Blorin a chilling look, saying, "That doesn't mean you won't be working with us." The bear gets scared and immediately hides, so Usato asks her what she wants from him. After that, they go for training, and Rose makes Usato carry Blorin on his back, telling him that it's like a battle simulation. He has to imagine Blorin as an injured comrade and run as fast as he can to save his life. Usato starts running with Blorin on his back and also carrying some weights, running as fast as he can, but Rose tells him to go faster. Suddenly, Tong and one of his teammates appear, chasing after Usato. Usato, bewildered, asks, "What are you guys doing, you idiots?" They tell him, "Didn't you know? You're in a battle simulation now. You'll definitely have obstacles." So, Usato is forced to keep running while carrying Blorin. An hour later, Usato is ambushed by someone jumping out of the ground, while another person throws stinky water at him. 3 hours in, he encounters another person who cuts a rope, releasing a bunch of logs that fall toward him, but he manages to avoid them by leaping over them. Because of everything that happens, Usato feels exhausted after 4 hours. Even the black rabbit appears to slow him down a bit. He keeps running but eventually can't handle it anymore due to his low mana and collapses on the ground. Talking to himself, Usato says, "I thought I could at least last half a day, but I only made it 4 hours." Rose then appears, telling him, "This is your stamina level in battle. You'll get tired and stressed out in war, which makes you lose strength faster than usual." She presses her hand to his head, using healing magic to restore his mana. She tells him he needs to build more stamina, not just for his body but for his mind as well. She also informs him that after regaining his strength, he'll have to run around the castle while still carrying Blorin. Usato starts running around town, and people are curious about what he's doing, carrying such a large creature on his back. But they calm down when they realize he's a member of the rescue team. At that moment, Blorin smells something and wakes up, pointing it out to Usato. It turns out that Blorin has caught the scent of the fruit they ate earlier, but Usato has no money left. He's completely broke. Usato asks his companion at the shop, "Why does everyone seem normal with me carrying this big bear on my back?" She explains, "It's because you're part of the rescue team. It's clear from your outfit, and we've gotten used to seeing all sorts of weird-looking people from the team running around town. Anyone used to seeing those strange faces would obviously find it normal to see someone like you carrying a cute bear." Usato starts to leave, but an elderly lady stops him and gives him a piece of the fruit, saying, "We're acquaintances now." Usato thanks the old lady, but Blorin ends up eating Usato's hand along with the fruit because he's so ravenous. After that, Usato runs off, intending to visit Suzumi and Kazumi at the castle. Suddenly, a strange man calls out to him and starts running after him, but Usato doesn't hear him. The poor guy runs after Usato, shouting, but Usato doesn't hear him until he collapses from exhaustion. Usato sees him and helps him to an empty spot, healing him. The man explains that he was chasing Usato to introduce himself as a new comrade. We learn that his name is Orga, and he's one of the healers in the rescue team. Orga admires Usato for being able to endure Rose's training, as it's impossible for him and his younger sister to do the same. The two of them run a clinic in the town, treating the locals. Usato asks him, "So, why didn't you just heal yourself earlier?" Orga explains that he can't heal himself, only others. This teaches Usato that there are many different types of healers. At this point, Usato remembers when Rose told him he'd be on the front lines with her, healing the wounded. So, Usato asks Orga what he does on the battlefield. Orga explains that Tong and his team bring the injured soldiers back behind the front lines, where they heal them. Usato tells him that Rose requested he be with her on the front lines and asks if he'll be able to handle it. Orga explains that those fighting on the front lines face the greatest danger. At that moment, Usato remembers Suzumi and Kazumi. Orga continues, saying, "When heroes get injured, they just sit around, waiting for death. But if there are healers on the battlefield, they might be saved." Of course, Usato, what you're doing is hard and exhausting, but if Rose chose you, it means she trusts you. Usato is deeply moved by Orga's words and then gets up, takes Blorin on his back, and walks away. Before leaving, Orga tells Usato, "Don't judge Rose too harshly. She's very kind. It just doesn't show because of her tough attitude." As Usato leaves, Orga's younger sister appears, scolding him for going out on his own. Usato heads to the castle to see Kazumi and Suzumi. The guard lets him through easily, trusting him because of Rose. At that moment, Suzumi is training, and when she sees Usato, she's thrilled and asks about the creature on his back. Usato explains that he found it while training in the monster forest and tamed it. Suzumi is eager to touch it, and Usato reassures her, "It's tamed. Even if it bites, I'll heal you." When Suzumi tries to pet the bear, Blorin refuses and moves her hand away. way. But Suzumi is happy, having managed to touch him. When she tries to call his name again to pet him more, Blorin nudges her with his head. Usato teases, "Looks like you've got a bad vibe." When Usato tries to pet him too, Blorin snaps at him, so Suzumi jokes, "What about you, then, big guy?" He replies, "Yeah, I've got a bad vibe too, I guess." Usato then notices that her hands are covered in cuts from her sword training, so he heals her. After that, he asks her about Kazumi, and she tells him that he's not around. He's currently outside the kingdom with Sir Signs to gain experience by fighting monsters outside the kingdom. At that moment, Kazumi is speaking with the knight, and suddenly a large group of monsters appears in front of them. Then Usato picks up Blorin and leaves. Usato keeps running until late at night because he wants to get stronger to help Kazumi and Suzumi in the war. He returns home very late, places Blorin in his sleeping spot, and sees Rose standing before him. She asks him how the training went, and Usato replies that he wants to get stronger. He tells her, "Before, I was afraid of fighting monsters, but now I feel something completely different. I feel like I must help Kazumi and Suzumi in the battle." Rose gets excited and tells him, "That's exactly what our job is. That's the mindset we need to have." Usato becomes even more motivated and, for the first time, feels like a real member of the rescue team. The next day, Rose wakes Usato up in her usual way and tells him to get up because there's a message from King Lloyd himself. He wants Usato to join Suzumi's training outside the castle. Usato goes with Rose to join Suzumi's training because the king himself requested it and he can't refuse. Rose informs him that he will be the healer for this mission. Suzumi is happy that Usato will be joining her training, and she becomes even more excited when she learns that Blorin will be coming with him. Suzumi, being clueless, thinks that Usato brought Blorin for her sake, but Usato crushes her feelings, telling her, "No, I didn't bring him for you. I brought him because I can't leave him." But Suzumi doesn't mind and introduces him to the witch Korin and the knight Iruko. As they speak, Suzumi informs him that Usato's healing magic isn't the best. He can heal minor wounds but won't be able to treat severe injuries. However, since Suzumi trained under Sigel's virus, she's confident in her abilities and walks off. Meanwhile, Kazuki is back at training, and Princess Celia is worried about him since he hasn't rested since returning from the forest training. At that moment, Usato and the rest of the group head to Linger Forest. Usato remembers that this is the same forest where Blorin's family died, and he's afraid that he'll recall those memories and wish they could return. Suzumi, clueless as always, takes advantage of Blorin's nap, wanting to touch him, but this time Usato is the one who stops her, slapping her hand every time she tries to touch Blorin. Suzumi yells at him, "Where did you learn this extremely important skill of treating a respectable lady like me?" At that moment, Blorin wakes up and walks, but he's still tired and wants to sleep. Suzumi seizes the moment and tries to carry him to touch him as she desires, but she thinks he's light. The moment she lifts him, she falls to the ground. After a while, the witch senses some dangerous creatures ahead, but it turns out they're just a group of bandits trying to rob them. Suzumi is thrilled when she sees the bandits. But the bandits are only afraid of the bear. Their leader says, "Don't worry, the bear's still young and can't do much." Suzumi gets bored and uses lightning magic to strike them all down. Suddenly, the witch senses a group of monsters coming their way. A group of wild boars appears out of nowhere. Blorin tries to defend Usato, and Suzumi uses her lightning magic on them. But their numbers are overwhelming, and they knock Usato and Suzumi all the way to the moon. Usato uses healing magic, and the two of them fall into the river, the same river Usato had fallen into before. They plunge down the waterfall, and after a while, they wake up from their unconscious state, and Usato heals Suzumi's wounds. Now they are deep in the forest, surrounded by a lot of monsters, and they don't have enough supplies to camp there. They realize there isn't much time left before nightfall, and they need to find a place to stay. Usato suggests they sleep in the trees so the monsters won't see them. But Suzumi refuses the idea because she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth and has always lived in a castle. Usato finds a cave for them to sleep in. Suzumi uses lightning magic to catch fish and also starts a fire. They spend the night uneventfully, with Suzumi admiring Usato's abs. But suddenly, a group of venomous monkeys appears. Usato warns Suzumi not to touch the monkeys, but she, being clueless, touches them anyway, and one of them bites her, causing her to pass out from the poison. Usato has to heal her again using his healing magic. Meanwhile, news reaches the castle, and the king tells Kazuki that Suzumi and Usato are missing. Kazuki gets furious and decides to search for them without listening to the king. Rose stops him and tells him, "I believe in Usato. I'm sure he'll return safely with Suzumi." At that moment, Usato and Suzumi are sitting together, and Usato enjoys the primitive lifestyle because there's no phone, and the only thing they can do is talk to each other. Suzumi seems upset, and she asks Usato if he wants to return home. Usato says, I want to go back, but at the same time, I don't. Suzumi says, I don't want to return at all because this world is so much better than the one we came from. I have no ties left to the old world. She adds, here, I can do whatever I want without anyone stopping me. Usato agrees with her, saying, I like this world too because in the previous one, I had no purpose. But now I have a goal, which is to help anyone in the kingdom. Suzumi says, I want to protect this place too since I'm one of the heroes. It's clear they both have feelings for each other. Usato, embarrassed, quickly decides to sleep to avoid the moment. The next day, they walk for a while, and suddenly, they sense danger ahead. It turns out that the danger is Blorin, and behind him is Knight Iruko, who is extremely exhausted from chasing after Blorin until he passed out. He explains that he had been chasing Blorin because he was able to track their location. At that moment, Blorin feels nostalgic for his family because the place they're in now used to be his family's den. But he overcomes this since he now has a new family. After that, they return from the forest. After they return to the castle, King Lloyd apologizes to them for putting them in such a difficult situation. And the naive Usato says, don't worry, I'm used to these kinds of things, almost revealing how Rose treats him. But he quickly catches himself, saying, I didn't mean it like that, I meant I used to explore forests in my old world. He lies to the king, saying, the training in the rescue team is going really well, because if he says anything else, Rose will turn him into boiled potatoes. After that, the king tells them they can leave now to get some rest after their forest training. As they're walking through the corridor, they run into Kazumi, who is running towards them, clearly worried. He was so concerned that he almost went to the forest by himself to find them. Suzumi calls Usato reckless, and he replies, what are you talking about? You're the one who let the monkey bite you, causing you to pass out. She quickly shushes him so he won't expose her. Kazumi and Usato talk for a bit, with Kazumi saying Rose believes in him, but Usato responds, I'll never trust Rose ever again. Kazumi then says goodbye to Suzumi and Usato and notices that the two seem to be getting closer. Princess Celia also picks up on this, telling Kazumi, you seem happier when you're with Usato or Suzumi. Kazumi explains that it's probably because they're from the same world, which makes Celia feel slightly jealous. Later, the king speaks to Rose and Seals, informing them that they interrogated the bandits who encountered Usato and Suzumi. They found out that the number of monsters in the area had decreased, meaning the creatures are fleeing. This suggests that something terrifying is approaching the kingdom, which could likely be the Demon King's army, as they've finally begun to move. The Knight Seals is confident that this time the Demon King's army will be far stronger than before in order to conquer the kingdom quickly. The king orders the preparation of all units and tells them to get ready for any attack. He also asks Rose to go scout out the Demon King's location since she's the fastest person in the kingdom. Before Rose leaves, the king makes another request, asking her to reconsider becoming the commander of the armies again. Rose refuses the offer, so the king says, but you're the only one in the kingdom with a high enough level of healing power, and you're also someone I trust completely. Rose refuses again, explaining that she has bad memories from when she was the commander because her team died before her eyes, and she couldn't heal them or protect herself. She has a scar on her eye from the incident, which always reminds her of that day. She feels responsible for her friends' deaths, thinking it was due to her arrogance during the battle. She says the scar always reminds her of her actions, which is why she created the rescue team, to heal everyone without needing to fight. She tells the king that she wants a follower who doesn't die. The king is puzzled, saying, that's impossible. Rose replies, when you start looking, search for these three things: healing magic, high mental fortitude, and persistence. I've finally found that person. She is referring to Usato, saying, he is the perfect follower because he's someone who hates losing and never gives up. She says he reminds her of the little brat who died in her arms, and that's why she's determined to turn Usato into the ideal healer. Meanwhile, Usato returns home to find a message left for him by Rose. She informs him that there won't be training tomorrow and that he needs to deliver the letter to the address marked on the map. At this time, the monster army is preparing to cross into the kingdom, led by one of the Demon King's generals and the Black Knight. The general gets angry at the doctor, telling him, you're beneath me, and you will follow my orders. The doctor laughs at her, mocking how she couldn't control the situation perfectly. The general is planning to build a bridge to invade Linger Kingdom. But suddenly, another figure appears on the opposite side of the river. They aren't concerned until the figure throws a giant tree trunk, destroying the bridge in an instant. The general is shocked, realizing all their efforts were ruined in mere seconds. When she focuses on the person who threw the trunk, she recognizes it as Rose and becomes furious. It's revealed that Rose and the general have a bitter history. Rose escapes the area, successfully buying the kingdom a few extra days to prepare for war against the monster army. Meanwhile, Usato follows the map to the address and notices that people are surprised by how calm and composed he seems, unlike the rest of the rescue team, who are all completely crazy. Usato continues on until he arrives at the destination, where Flora greets him. The place is a clinic where she and her brother treat people. At that moment, Orga is healing a small child, and Usato is amazed by the shape of his mana. Orga heals the child quickly. Orga notices Usato and accepts the letter he was delivering from Rose. Flora asks Usato how the others on the rescue team are doing. Usato reassures her, saying, "They're fine. Don't worry, they're still as terrifying as ever." Flora has missed them because she hasn't visited in a while, having been unable to finish Rose's training. Orga's expression changes when he reads Rose's letter, realizing something is wrong. He quickly hides the letter so his sister doesn't notice. Flora then tells Usato the story of their time with Rose, explaining how excited Rose was to test them when they first met. But after a while, they began to fear Rose, unable to handle her training because she was intense and scary most of the time. Flora adds, "But it seems like she's happy now." Usato thinks to himself, of course, she's happy because she has a new punching bag. At that moment, a stranger rushes in, informing Orga that there's been an accident where someone fell off a roof onto two others. When they reach the scene, Orga is exhausted from trying to keep up with Usato's speed. They begin healing the injured, and Orga asks Usato to treat one of the victims. As Usato approaches, he notices the man is in critical condition with a deep wound. It's Usato's first time dealing with such a serious injury, as he's only ever healed minor wounds before. He's nervous, but Usato reminds himself that the war is coming, and he'll have to deal with injuries far worse than this. Orga encourages him, saying, "Focus on your mana flow. You're strong enough to heal the person in front of you. All you need to do is trust in your abilities." Usato thinks, even Rose trusts me, so how can I not trust myself? He concentrates on his mana, releasing powerful healing magic and successfully healing the man's wound. Afterward, Flora compliments him, saying, "You were great back there. The man doesn't feel any pain now." Orga then asks Usato to come help them at the clinic whenever he's free. Usato promises to visit again later. Taking the opportunity, Orga finally tells his sister about Rose's letter, revealing it was a declaration of war. The Demon King's army is getting ready to attack. Usato, meanwhile, goes to buy some fruit and encounters a little girl. To his surprise, the girl tells him, "You're the only one who can see it, and you're the one who can change the future." Her eyes suddenly change, allowing Usato to see a vision of the future where he witnesses people dying. He realizes that the Demon King's army will slaughter their forces, and the Black Knight will kill his friends, Kazuki and Suzumi. When the vision ends, Usato is left in shock and fear. The girl tells him, "That was a gift from me to you. Your actions are now your responsibility." Wathik is confused by the scenes he saw and runs around looking for the girl but can't find her. At that moment, she is watching him and says that he is her only hope. Usato continues searching for her, even asking one of the guards, but they haven't seen her either. Frustrated, Usato gives up on finding her. Suddenly, Rose appears, and the guard gets terrified as if he's seen a monster. Usato, however, gets into trouble with her for no reason, as Rose grabs his head and slams it to the ground. She informs him that she had been scouting around the kingdom, investigating the positions of the Demon King's army, and saw them building a bridge to cross into their lands. She tells him that she destroyed the bridge and managed to buy the kingdom a few extra days. Usato is bewildered by her strange personality, but suddenly she squeezes his head again. He then asks her about the girl, and Rose explains that the girl appeared suddenly in the city and managed to take down the bandits and gangs that were chasing her, even though she's only 12 years old. Usato wonders why anyone would hunt her in the first place. Rose explains that it's because she belongs to a wild race, and some of them possess a special kind of magic. Usato says, like the ability to show people strange visions. He reveals that the girl made him see strange scenes of people dying in front of him. Rose explains that she has heard of a rare species known as the Time Seers, who can see the future, and they are usually protected in the wild race's territory. Usato becomes anxious, realizing that if the girl is a time seer, the future she showed him is real and will happen. Rose then orders him to return home while she heads off to meet King Lloyd. When Rose meets with the king, she reports what happened and her actions against the Demon King's army. The king thanks her for delaying the enemy's invasion. Rose then tells him she's certain they are now rebuilding the bridge and will complete it in a few days, allowing them to launch their invasion. The king then orders that the people be informed about the Demon King's army's intent to invade. He instructs the knight Silas to deliver the message to Suzumi and Kazumi that evening. Silas leaves to summon them immediately, while Suzumi and Kazuki are puzzled about why they're being called at such an hour. When they arrive at King Lloyd's court, Usato is lying in bed, unable to sleep as usual. But this time, it's not because of Tong's snoring, it's because he can't stop thinking about the scenes he saw and the girl's words that he is the only one who can change the future. Usato keeps pondering how he can prevent this, but he's unsure of himself and doesn't know how to do it. Suddenly, he sees lights floating around his window and gets scared, thinking it's a ghost. But when he checks, he finds out it's Kazuki using his magic to call him. The two sit down together, and Kazumi tells Usato that the king informed them the war with the Demon King's army will start soon, and they are now preparing for it. Kazuki wasn't surprised when he heard the news, and Suzumi seemed ready and excited. Kazuki admits that, after hearing the news, he couldn't sleep that night and snuck out of the castle without anyone noticing. He starts trembling and confesses to Usato that he's terrified. Even when he left the capital to train, the first time he saw the monsters, he froze in place, unable to move out of fear. But eventually, he managed to fight and encouraged himself, knowing he had to overcome his fear in battle. However, upon hearing about the Demon King's army, the fear returned. This time, though, he can't run away because the people of this kingdom love him, and he's lived with them for so long. Usato tells him, "You're a great person, but you've been under a lot of pressure because everyone depends on you. But you don't always have to live up to their expectations. There's no harm in prioritizing your own feelings from time to time." Kazuki asks, "So, what will you do during the war?" Usato replies, "I'll be going to save the people who get injured by the Demon King's army." He adds, "At first, I was really scared too, but I made an important decision and I can't back down from it now." Kazuki asks, "How can you want to sacrifice yourself in this world where you got stuck by mistake?" Usato responds, "I can't deny that I didn't like how I ended up here, but now I've been through a lot, met people who care about me, and helped me become someone important. I can't just let them die." He adds, "Even if you don't fight like the heroes, you'll still be my friend." Kazumi is deeply moved by his words and slaps himself, deciding that he will help Usato and Suzumi. But Usato urges him to calm down and reconsider his decision. However, Kazumi has made up his mind and tells Usato, "I feel great when I'm around you, and that's why I'm excited to fight and protect you." Usato and Kazumi agree to protect the kingdom together. Kazumi says, "I'm glad I met you, Usato," before leaving. Usato then tries to go back to sleep but overhears everything from his conversation with Kazumi. He says, "Honestly, I'm exhausted right now and I really need to sleep." Suzumi acts silly and admits that she had been following Kazumi to make sure he was okay, but now she feels relieved after Usato made his decision to fight alongside them. Usato responds, "Honestly, I don't want Kazumi to fight at all." Suzumi grabs his shoulders suddenly and asks, "So, you want me to fight alongside them, don't you?" Usato quickly replies, "Of course not. But you're very different from Kazumi. You were the one who decided to stay in this world from the beginning." Suzumi understands his words, bids him farewell, and leaves. The next day, King Lloyd addresses all the kingdom's armies, informing them that the Demon King's army is preparing for war and will soon invade them. He then announces that the kingdom will intercept them in the Greenlands, and he's certain that this time they will be much stronger than before, making this battle far from easy. However, the king assures them that the kingdom is not weak, thanks to the presence of the hero Kazumi and the heroine Suzumi. The king reassures them that the kingdom of Lingar will emerge victorious, and they will set out tomorrow to defeat the Demon King's army. Afterward, Kazuki speaks with Princess Celia, telling her, "I will protect this kingdom with all my strength," before leaving. Meanwhile, Floor is trying to play with the bear Borin, but he refuses. At that moment, the black rabbit appears but also ignores her, leaving her disappointed. Her brother is struggling with the bags, and Usato goes to help him. Floor continues trying with the animals, while Urga tells Usato that Floor is just nervous because it's her first battle. At that moment, Rose calls Usato to her room, and Usato is nervous since it's the first time Rose has done that. When he enters, he finds her unusually calm. Rose says, "You remember the role I told you you'd play in the war, right?" She tells him to forget that now. They'll stay in the background, and Tong and the rest of the team will bring the wounded to them from the front. They'll heal them together with Urga and Floor. Rose warns Usato not to make mistakes when using healing magic. Then, she presents him with a strange box. When Usato opens it, he finds the official uniform of the rescue team. She explains that the outfit is designed to be visible on the battlefield. Yusato is thrilled with the uniform and puts it on immediately, looking quite impressive in it for the first time. But suddenly, Rose grabs him by the neck and says, "The worst thing on the battlefield is not valuing your own life and prioritizing others instead." Yusato says, "I get it. I don't want to die, anyway." Rose hits him on the head and says, "Stop being an idiot. I've seen people like you before, and they were the first to die on the battlefield. Don't underestimate your own life. The smartest rescuer is the one who doesn't do anything foolish. If you try to sacrifice yourself, I'll kill you before the enemy gets to you." Yusato removes her hand and says, "I will protect everyone, and that includes me too." Rose is impressed by his confidence and courage. When Yusato leaves the room, he recalls the terrible future he saw and says with determination, "I have one mission, and that's to make sure Kazumi and Suzumi don't die, no matter what." Then the rescue team convoy heads off to join the battle against the Demon King's army. Floor feels bored, so Tong explains that the capital is far away from where they're headed, so it's normal to feel that way. At that moment, Yusato asks Rose what demons look like. Rose responds, "Well, they look a lot like humans, but they have twisted horns. The big difference between them and us is their huge stamina and the enormous amount of mana they have. Even the regular soldiers among them are incredibly strong." Yusato feels really scared of them but remembers that Rose is even scarier. Rose speaks to him and praises him, saying, "Even though you were thrown into this world by mistake, I didn't expect you to become this strong." Yusato replies, "Of course, that's thanks to your tough training, which could probably turn a mouse into a regular beast." At this moment, Rose remembers her fallen comrades and places her hand on her injured eye from the last war. We go back in time 5 years before that moment. At this time, Rose was the captain of the Linger Knights. The king summons them and tells them that demons have been spotted in the Greenlands, which is a dangerous situation for the kingdom. Because of this, the king decides to assign guards to the merchants who pass through the Greenlands. The officers and knights are warned not to engage with the demons because they are much stronger than them. After they leave, Rose remains calm and cold as usual, unlike Silas, who is anxious. Silas believes the monsters want to destroy the kingdom and is eager to prepare their forces as quickly as possible. Once they're done with Silas, Rose reflects on the matter, but her deputy annoys her with her chatter, so Rose knocks her head lightly. Rose scolds her, saying, "You should learn to keep quiet when you see others thinking." But she doesn't stop talking, adding, "I didn't expect the demons to want to attack now." Rose hits her on the head again because she was eavesdropping on the king's conversation. Once they leave the castle, Rose's deputy is excited because she wants to fight the demons. Rose warns her, "Don't underestimate the enemy, you fool." When they return to the rescue headquarters, Rose glares at them menacingly and informs them that today's training will be extremely tough. They all know that was the one who provoked Rose, and now they'll have to suffer through the harsh training because of her. They sit down and begin hitting who tries to seek help from Rose, but Rose just ignores her. A week later, Rose goes to speak with the king, and he informs her that the Beast King's army is planning an attack and that a spy had alerted them to this. The king asks Rose to investigate the monster situation. He tells her that if the situation is urgent, she may use her strength to fend off the monsters from the kingdom. The king trusts Rose, believing she's wise enough not to attack the monsters without cause. Afterward, Rose returns to the headquarters and informs the team that they will leave tomorrow morning to investigate Linger Forest. Is overly excited about the mission, but her companions curse her because they've had to endure 2 weeks of grueling training because of her. However, is still being a nuisance and keeps talking to them, so they throw whatever they can grab at her. At this time, Rose speaks to Kokoro and tells him he'll stay behind this time. Though he would be a great help against the monsters, she doesn't want to risk putting him in danger. Begins to cry and begs Rose to stop the team from hitting her. Rose scolds the team, telling them that the serious moment has come, and they must prepare for the mission with all their strength. Everyone becomes excited and happy because Rose will accompany them in battle due to her great strength and her exceptional healing magic abilities. Thanks to her, they can fight with all their might without worrying about injuries. The next day, they set out with Rose into the dark Linger Forest, and they spend the entire day without finding anything. At night, they set up camp, and suggests that they explore the western side of the forest tomorrow since they didn't find anything today. One of them comments that the western side of the forest is very dangerous, and also feels like there's something threatening coming from that direction. However, her companions encourage her, reminding her that she's their deputy captain. After that, everyone goes to sleep, but Rose stays awake by the fire, guarding the camp. Still awake, gets up to sit beside Rose. As she sits next to her, or asks why Rose chose her to be the deputy captain. Rose replies, "You're very skilled, and no one has ever complained about you. I'm even considering passing the title of captain to you in the future. I can't lead this unit forever, and one day I'll have to hand it over to you." Or refuses, saying she couldn't possibly do what Rose does. She calls herself stubborn and says she doesn't listen to anyone, so she can't be the leader. Or tells Rose, "You're the only one who took care of me despite my constant stubbornness in everything. Even though I was annoyed by you at first, I ended up feeling happy to have met someone like you. That's why you're the only one who has to be the leader." Rose hits her lightly again and/or says, "I can't believe this is your reaction after everything I just said to you." Rose replies, "I didn't choose you at random. I chose you because you never give up, no matter what happens, and you always look forward. That's a leader's mindset." Or is thrilled and bursts into laughter. Rose leaves her to get some sleep, and/or is surprised to find that all her companions had been watching and listening to her. They tell her, "We trust you, Deputy Captain," but Or is so embarrassed that she chases after them throughout the night. The next day, they find traces of demons in the forest. Suddenly, they hear the sound of monsters and head in that direction. When they arrive, the monster leader senses them, forcing them to reveal themselves. Rose approaches and asks the leader, "Nero, why are you getting closer to the kingdom?" Nero responds, "Honestly, I don't care much about this mission. I'm just doing it for the benefits I'll get from it." Rose asks him what this mission is, but of course, he refuses to tell her. Rose doesn't want to fight, so she tells him, "I'll overlook this matter if you leave now and return to your lands." But the demon isn't afraid of her and says, "I'm not letting you return alive after you've seen us." Everyone gets ready, and Rose prepares to unleash her full strength on Nero. Nero, who uses wind magic, attacks Rose with it. But Rose is just as fast and strong and manages to land a hit on Nero. Nero is shocked and thinks, "How can a human be this fast?" They keep attacking each other until Nero becomes excited by Rose's strength. He says to Rose, "I've never seen someone as strong as you before, even though you're my enemy." But Rose doesn't care about his words. Even though Nero surrounds her with his wind magic, she escapes the attack without severe injuries and heals herself with her magic. Nero gets even more fired up and uses his demonic power to summon a strange sword from beneath the ground to fight Rose with. But Rose isn't intimidated and prepares to attack him again. Indeed, they clash again, and the battle between them becomes fiercely intense. The demon army is incredibly strong, but the human army still manages to resist them. One of the humans uses sleep magic, and all fights with all her magical strength. At this moment, Rose dodges Nero's demonic sword because it's cursed, and she can't let it touch her. Suddenly, Nero charges at Rose with his sword and manages to wound her, but Rose doesn't back down and lands a blow that alters his face. Then she hits him with a powerful magical strike, sending him flying. Afterward, she approaches him, heals her wound, and mocks him completely. Here, Nero laughs wickedly and says that all his demons are being humiliated even though they're only facing humans. He tells Rose that her group is the most troublesome he's ever dealt with. He also says that there are no longer any superhuman beings in this world. Rose responds, saying, "I thought you could defeat us since there are no heroes in our world, but if you think like that, you're wrong." Nero tells her that the era of demons fearing humans is ending soon because their king is about to awaken. At this moment, Nero unleashes a massive demonic power, aiming to bring victory to his kingdom and create a world of luxury for the monsters. He wants to destroy Rose and her team. Meanwhile, a girl from Rose's team stabs one of the demons in the chest with her sword, thinking he's dead. But when she looks closer, she realizes he doesn't feel any pain and is surprised that the monster is still standing despite the injury. The demon responds to her, saying, "We are the followers of the Demon King, and even if we die, we will drag down those who oppose us with us." Rose wants to intervene and save the girl, but Nero keeps attacking her repeatedly, preventing her from helping. And then the disaster happens. The demon kills the girl. Everyone is shocked as they witness the death of their comrade. Rose becomes filled with anger toward the demons. But it doesn't stop there, as the demons capture another human and kill him as well. Suddenly, all the demons go wild, attacking the humans recklessly without caring for their own lives, showing no fear of anything. It becomes clear that Nero is responsible for this, using the power of his cursed sword to make the demons fearless, attacking with all their might. He tells Rose, "Now I've become a true demon, making all my followers die and take yours down with them." Rose becomes incredibly furious and loses control of her emotions, making her attacks easy for Nero to block. Nero takes advantage of this, launching his own assault, managing to wound her eye with his cursed sword. When Rose tries to heal her eye, she is shocked to find she cannot. It's revealed that this is due to Nero's sword, which can temporarily sever mana, making it impossible for any healing magic to work. At that moment, Rose's followers are crying out to her, begging her to come and heal them with her magic, but Rose is unable to move due to Nero. However, She doesn't want to give up either and attacks Nero again, but he exploits her recklessness once more, cutting part of her leg to disrupt her balance. At this moment, Nero strikes her again, and Rose is powerless to stop him. He prepares to deliver the final blow with his sword, but to Rose's shock, All takes the hit instead, sacrificing herself to save Rose. Rose is devastated to witness her friends dying before her eyes, remembering all their precious moments together. She blames herself for being selfish and weak, unable to protect her comrades. As Nero prepares to kill her, he points his sword at her, telling her that he will never forget the death of his followers, just as she won't forget the death of hers. Enraged, Rose grabs his sword with one hand and strikes him so hard that his eye ends up where his mouth should be. Nero tries to escape using wind magic, but Rose catches him quickly, slamming him into the ground. She then throws him into a tree and impales him with his own sword. At that moment, a demoness named Amila appears, revealing that Nero is her mentor. She begins to cry, wanting to save him. When Rose sees her, she remembers All and reluctantly lets Amila escape. Afterward, Rose rushes to All, who is crawling on the ground, trying to save her with healing magic. But All's wound is too deep, and Rose realizes she can't heal it. Before All dies, she tells Rose, "Stay the person we always used to respect." Later, Rose goes to the king to report what happened and also asks for permission to retire from the knighthood before leaving. As she walks through the kingdom, she encounters Josh's parents and expects them to blame her for their son's death. But instead, they thank her for bringing his body back, allowing them to see him for the first time. Josh had always loved Rose. After that, Rose returns home, sitting alone with her memories of her friends. A month later, Silas visits her to check on her, furious that she refuses to return to the knighthood. After he leaves, Rose talks to herself, saying that her scarred eye is a reminder of her guilt for letting her friends die. She continues to sit at home without doing anything, with no goal, constantly remembering her comrades. But suddenly, All appears beside her, telling her that nothing stays the same and that she has to accept that. All reminds her, "Don't forget my last words when I told you to stay the person we respect." At that moment, Rose sees all her followers smiling at her, telling her that they're not used to seeing her like this. Rose is deeply moved, crying over their loss, and declares that this will be the last time she allows herself to be weak. We then return to the present, where Rose is sitting with Usato and tells him, "I'm lucky I found you." Usato is surprised that she's complimenting him for the first time. Rose tells him, "You don't know how important you are. No one can reach your level with just training." Usato laughs, happy to hear her speak positively about him for the first time. But it doesn't last long before Rose punches him in the stomach, almost making him vomit. Yet she praises him again, saying, "You have everything I was looking for, and I'm sure you won't die." At the same time, the demon army finally finishes building the bridge, and the Black Knight is eager for the battle. Amila tells him that he can use all his might in this fight. The Black Knight is confident that he will easily defeat the humans. But Amila warns him, telling him that among the humans, there are tricky opponents who are stealing the wounded. He replies, "Why should I be afraid of a few people who are running away?" She explains to him that the cowards running away are, in fact, monsters. However, the Black Knight becomes even more excited upon hearing that there are strong individuals among the humans. Then, we switch to Usato, who wakes up early on the day of the war. Suzumi has also woken up early, and she proudly shows off her hero armor in front of Usato. This armor was specially made for her and is designed to support her lightning magic. But Suzumi, being foolish, keeps showing off the armor excessively, and Usato is left puzzled by her antics. Suzumi, as usual, annoys Usato by getting too close to him. He shouts at the top of his lungs, calling for Kazuki to rescue him from this crazy girl. Fortunately, Kazuki shows up and convinces her to leave Usato alone. Meanwhile, the human army prepares to face the Demon King's army, relying on magic users. As soon as the monsters appear, they will strike all at once. Kazuki notices Suzumi is a bit anxious, but she acts embarrassed and pretends to be excited about the fight. Kazuki tells her, "You've changed a lot from how you used to be in our old world." Suzumi responds, "It's all thanks to Usato, who encouraged me to be who I wanted to be." At that moment, they sense the enemy approaching. Indeed, the Demon King's army is drawing near. The mages unleash all their magical power on the demons at once. But the shock comes when they realize that it was all just an illusion. The demons are coming from behind to attack them. During this time, Rose prepares the rescue team and orders everyone in black to bring the wounded back to her, ensuring they return alive. She instructs Urga and his sister to stay in the tent, guarded by the knight. Rose also tells Usato that they will head out as soon as the battle's injuries increase. Usato is worried about Suzumi and Kazuki. Suddenly, Tung arrives with two injured people, shocking Usato with his speed. Usato rushes to heal them, but the wounded person tells him that a giant snake with the demons attacked them. Usato recalls the giant snake he killed in the forest but decides to help the injured first before addressing that issue. At that moment, we see the massive snake, and the soldiers are terrified of it. The Black Knight is also observing from a distance, mocking the humans for their weakness. But suddenly, a knight strikes him from behind and manages to stab him. The soldier thinks he's finished the Black Knight, but he is shocked to see that the injured one wasn't the Black Knight. The knight pulls the sword out of his body effortlessly, unharmed. The soldier wants to warn the others about the Black Knight, but the knight intends to catch up and kill him. Then, one of Rose's assistants appears and throws stinky water at the Black Knight, quickly grabbing the soldier and escaping. The Black Knight recalls Emila's words about the tricky enemies among the humans. He grows furious and summons immense demonic energy, determined to kill all the humans. He notices Suzumi's lightning power and heads toward her to fight. Meanwhile, Rose tells Usato that it's time to head to the battlefield. She hands over the task of healing the injured to Urga and his sister. They both run toward the battle, and as they do, Rose tells Usato that she heard from one of the injured that there's a strange Black Knight on the battlefield using some kind of weird magic. Usato is shocked when he hears this because he recalls the horrible vision where the Black Knight kills Suzumi and Kazuki. Suddenly, Usato stops, remembering what he saw. Rose approaches him and says, "I'll teach you a special technique so that you won't die in this fight." After that, they split up. Usato runs toward the right while Rose heads left. As Usato runs, he's shocked to see the battlefield for the first time. He sees one of the monsters about to kill someone, so he rushes to save them and runs off. But then another monster attacks him, and Usato skillfully dodges the attack and continues running swiftly. At the same time, Rose is leaping over the monsters, grabbing the injured, and running away, leaving the monsters astonished by her incredible strength. Suzumi, meanwhile, has also managed to defeat a large number of monsters, but she seems anxious, sensing that something is off. Suzumi wants to clear the way to the enemy leader, but then the Black Knight appears, shocking everyone. They don't know what kind of creature he is. Suzumi tries to warn her guards not to attack him because of the Black Knight's danger, but they don't listen and attack him immediately. They manage to wound him, but the Black Knight doesn't do anything to defend himself. Suddenly, sharp blades emerge from the Black Knight's body, and even the soldiers who struck him with their swords seem to have been the ones injured. Kazuki, too, recklessly faces the Black Knight using his magic, but Suzumi stops him at the last moment before he gets hurt. However, Kazuki's light magic manages to hit the Black Knight in the shoulder. Suzumi then realizes that the Black Knight's magic is a reflection magic that can reflect any attack directed at him. Even Kazuki's blow is returned to him, and he suffers a severe shoulder injury. Usato is running toward them, recalling the terrifying nightmare he had. He becomes anxious as he remembers his team lying on the ground, unfocused. A demon is about to kill Usato, but one of Usato's former rescuers appears and saves him. He tells Usato that Suzumi and Kazuki are on the front lines of the battlefield. At that moment, Suzumi devises a plan and tells Kazuki to follow her lead. She moves quickly and, with Kazuki's help, manages to stab the Black Knight from behind. As she suspected, the knight couldn't reflect the attack because he didn't feel it, and as long as he's unaware of the strike, his power won't activate. But suddenly, the Black Knight stabs both of them and they suffer severe injuries. He had been pretending to be hurt earlier but was unharmed in the end. When Usato arrives at the scene, Suzumi apologizes to him before she dies. Back in the previous world, when Suzumi met Usato for the first time, she considered herself lucky to have encountered him and later to have been summoned to this world as well. As she grew closer to Usato, she came to understand his unyielding personality and his determination to never give up. She believed everything would be fine once she met him, but then the Black Knight appeared and destroyed everything. Returning to the present, the demons were overjoyed due to the Black Knight's presence. The Black Knight raised his sword over Suzumi and said it had been fun, but now it was time to end things. Just as he was about to strike, Usato suddenly appeared, delivering a blow that sent the Black Knight flying. Usato checked on Kazuki and Suzumi, realizing that he hadn't arrived in time, but then noticed that Kazuki was still breathing, meaning there was still hope. Usato began treating both of them, and Suzumi was thrilled to see him. But soon, the Black Knight got back up from Usato's strike, and as his mask broke, it was revealed that the knight was actually a woman. The knight charged at Usato again, but Usato used his speed to dodge the attack. He asked Suzumi if she was okay and informed her that Kazuki's wounds were nearly healed and that he would wake up soon. The Black Knight caught up to him and blocked his path. Suzumi informed Usato that his earlier strike was effective, which was strange because the knight's armor usually deflected all attacks. The Black Knight said, I don't know how you managed to land a hit, but I won't let you off now. Yusato didn't want to fight, but with the Black Knight standing in his way, he had no choice. He was ready to face her with all his might. He left Kazuki in safe hands. The Black Knight prepared her magic, revealing her plan to heal herself even if Yusato managed to wound her. But Yusato's magic of healing negated her deflecting ability, something that even the Black Knight didn't understand. Yusato launched an attack, combining all his strength in one hand and struck the knight, cracking a large portion of her armor. The Black Knight was shocked and became furious at Yusato, attacking him relentlessly, but Yusato dodged every strike with ease. At that moment, Kazuki woke up from his unconsciousness, surprised to find his deep wound healed. Suzumi explained that Yusato had saved them and was now fighting the Black Knight with all his strength to protect them. Suddenly, the Black Knight managed to strike Yusato's arm, but surprisingly, the armor lost its power against Yusato's healing magic. Kazuki realized that Yusato was in a continuous state of healing, which meant that even though he was healing his enemy, he was also weakening the Black Knight without her noticing. Yusato was exploiting the knight's vulnerability, using healing magic in a way it wasn't intended to be used, making it a genius, albeit reckless, strategy. Frustrated, the Black Knight called upon all her demonic power at once, causing her sword to grow even larger. But Yusato wasn't afraid. He was ready to end the fight on his own terms. He focused all his healing magic into his hand and struck the Black Knight's sword, unleashing an enormous amount of energy. In the end, Yusato managed to shatter the sword using healing magic. He punched the Black Knight with such force that healing magic spread everywhere. The knight's black armor evaporated, revealing the monstrous girl inside. Yusato named this attack the ultimate healing fist. But he didn't stop there. He returned to the battlefield to heal the injured soldiers, as that was his duty. Seeing their Black Knight defeated, the remaining demons fled. Suzumi approached Yusato and told him, "You saved me from death, healed many soldiers, and defeated the Black Knight. You've really gone above and beyond this time." Yusato felt embarrassed, and Suzumi returned to her usual strange self. Yusato explained that the blow he delivered to the Black Knight was imbued with healing magic, a technique that Rose had taught him. We then learn that Rose had once told Yusato, "When you face your opponent, coat your hand with healing magic. That way, you won't injure them, but you'll knock them unconscious, making it a way to incapacitate your enemy without harm." Suzumi felt hopeless about Yusato since he was now starting to imitate Rose's wild behavior. But she thanked him nonetheless for saving them from death. Yusato replied, "Thank who? This is my duty. After all, you and Kazuki are my closest friends." At that moment, Kazuki informed them that the giant serpent was approaching the kingdom, and they needed to defeat it. Suzumi decided to go with him. Yusato wanted to join them, but Rose suddenly appeared and stopped him, demanding to know exactly how he predicted that the Black Knight would target Kazuki and Suzumi. After that, the two of them left the battlefield, with Rose not quite believing that Yusato had managed to do everything on his own. She told him, "You saved two heroes, defeated the Black Knight, and crushed the morale of the enemy. You really did everything right." She then added, "Since the battlefield is safe now, you're coming back to the camp with me." Before leaving, Yusato told Suzumi and Kazuki, "I'll head back to the camp. Don't die out there. You two are heroes too. Finish off the enemy and return safely." Kazuki and Suzumi vowed to cherish the lives Yusato had saved. Then, Yusato and Rose returned to the camp. Meanwhile, Emila was shocked by the Black Knight's defeat and couldn't believe that a mere human could overcome her magic. Her monster companion informed her that the one who defeated the knight wasn't even a hero but an ordinary man in white clothes. Angry, Emila ordered Hiralim to summon the white serpent and withdraw from the battle. As Hiralim was about to withdraw his serpent from the battlefield, he noticed that Suzumi and Kazuki were facing the monster, determined to defeat it. Back at the camp, Yusato continued healing the people there. Suddenly, everyone noticed a large thunderstorm in the sky, and they realized that the heroes had defeated the serpent. Afterward, Yusato considered rejoining the army, but Rose told him, "Are you crazy? There are way too many of them, and you'd definitely get killed if you went." She then spoke to Yusato, saying, "If you hadn't predicted the Black Knight's attack on the heroes, they'd be dead right now. You acted exactly like a member of the rescue squad." Yusato reflected on all the moments since he arrived in this world and felt happy that he had finally achieved his goal. Tears of joy streamed down his face. Rose remarked that Yusato resembled the first hero. Suddenly, Yusato fainted from extreme exhaustion and a lack of mana, and Rose carried him off. We see Yusato sitting with Bellorin, telling them how difficult everything was and that King Lloyd said he would reward them, summoning them to receive their reward. Yusato is very nervous because it's his first time standing in front of such a large crowd. Rose hits him during the ceremony, but he's still happy because he's never received a reward before. Yusato notices that Bellorin has gained weight while he was away, which annoys Bellorin. At that moment, one of Usato's friends arrives and tells him they need him at the castle. When Usato asks why they need him, his friend doesn't answer and just tells him to be careful while passing through the city, leaving Usato confused. As Usato heads through the city, he finds the people gathering around him because he's from the rescue team, and he's standing there, shocked and not knowing what to do. When he reaches the castle, Arko tells him that this is natural after what happened in the battle, explaining that they saved many people and that Usato saved the entire war. Usato then goes to meet the king, who apologizes for summoning him twice in such a short time. The king explains that they need his power to interrogate the Black Knight. Usato recalls how they defeated the knight and asks what happened. Ceres explains that the knight wasn't aggressive during the interrogation, but they still couldn't get any information from her. The knight had told them she would cooperate if they agreed to her demands, and her only demand was for them to bring Usato to her. At this point, Suzumi accompanies Usato to meet the knight. She casts her magic around him and says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it if the knight tries anything against you." Usato is confused because he had heard the knight was cooperating, and he reminds Suzumi that she lost against the knight. Suzumi feels embarrassed, knowing that only Usato and Rose could defeat the knight, but she still wants to act as a shield for Usato in case something goes wrong. Ceres explains to Usato that the Black Knight has a strong affinity for dark magic, which was neutralized when Usato attacked her with his magic. Usato understands that their powers cancelled each other out, meaning that his healing magic neutralized the dark magic with every hit he landed. Usato is even more shocked and asks if they've given the knight any medical care. Ceres tells him that they haven't provided anything because she has been wearing her black armor the entire time. Usato is alarmed and rushes to the knight's cell, asking her if she's injured. He knows that she must have sustained severe injuries since all his attacks hit her directly. The knight admits that he's right. At that moment, Usato asks the knight why she wanted to see him. She responds, "I just wanted to see the face of the person who hit me like that." Usato notices that she's upset and asks Commander Ceres if he can go inside. Ceres is hesitant, but Usato explains that he needs to help her. Once inside the cell, Usato asks the knight to give him her hand. She thinks Usato wants her hand to torture her. Usato shouts at her, and reluctantly, she gives him her hand. She's shocked when she sees Usato healing her and tells him that she doesn't need it, trying to pull away from him. Usato tells her that he would be upset if he saw her die, and he continues healing her. Suddenly, her armor disappears, and she's stunned by the warmth of the healing magic, something she's never felt before. She tries to hold on to him, dispelling her armor and crying. The next day, Usato meets Rose, and she tells him that she'll train him again. This is because the Beast King's army is going to attack soon, so she wants to teach him a few things before that happens so he'll be ready. Usato tells her that he also wants to know the level of his healing magic since he can't heal complicated things like diseases. Rose explains that this type of healing magic is difficult for his current level, and it's too soon for him to try. Usato asks if there are any physical exercises, and Rose tells him that his physical strength and endurance are high, so they don't need to worry about that right now. Usato is confused and asks what they'll be doing exactly. He becomes scared when Rose adjusts her stance and asks what she's planning to do, calling her a crazy woman. She tells him that she's going to spar with him, hitting him faster than he can react. She tells him to try to dodge her attacks, but he's terrified and steps back, asking if she really hates him. He says, "If you hit me, I'll explode right away," and Rose laughs wickedly. She says that means they'll move on to the next phase. Usato becomes even more scared and says, "Fine, send me to fight the Beast King instead. That's better than this." Rose then asks him if he thinks he can heal himself when he's injured. She tells him that healing magic doesn't work on wounds caused by cursed weapons. She smiles and tells him he's not bad and that they'll start slowly. Usato says that he shouldn't be hit unless it's gentle, and he calls her a monster. Rose gets annoyed, but Usato quickly apologizes when he sees that she's upset, realizing that he wants her to take the training seriously. She thanks him for his seriousness. She suddenly picks him up and throws him into the air, so Usato activates his healing magic before anything bad happens. When he lands safely, he's shocked to see Rose appear right in front of him. She laughs evilly and tells him, "You better block this next attack," gathering all her strength into one hand. Usato feels like a bomb hit his stomach, and he passes out. When he wakes up, he finds himself lying in the forest and laughs at the nightmare he just had, relieved that there was no sudden training. But he's shocked to find Rose standing behind him, telling him, "You woke up. Let's continue training." Rose tells him not to worry because she reduced her strength at the beginning, and he should be fine now before hitting him again. Later, Usato recounts all of this to the knight and is shocked to realize he's been training for 3 days, calling Rose the worst. He tells the knight that no matter how hard he tries to dodge her, Rose hits him more. Yesterday, she hit him in the stomach, nearly making his heart swap places with his pancreas. The knight is confused as to why Usato is spending time with her, and he explains that he's just free today. The knight wants to say something to him, but changes her mind, puts on her armor, and tells Usato to leave. As Usato walks around, he thinks back to what happened during the battle. Suddenly, he senses a strange magical power pass by him. He goes to investigate and finds that it's coming from Kazuki. When Kazumi finishes his training, they sit together with Celia. They talk for a while, and Celia tells Usato that they've gathered enough information about the Demon King's army. She adds, "I heard that without you, Usato, we would have lost." Afterward, Usato leaves them, and Kazuki shyly tells Celia the truth about how he almost died in the battle. Meanwhile, the knight is puzzled by Usato's frequent visits and conversations with her. Suddenly, Rose walks in, realizing that this is the person Usato has been talking about. Rose speaks to the knight and tells her that she now has only two options. The first option is to stay in the cell for the rest of her life. But before she can finish, the knight interrupts, saying, "Kill me." Rose tells her not to rush her fate and opens the cell, telling her that the second option is to become her subordinate and that Rose will take care of her. The knight is shocked, and Rose hits her on the head. Rose places a magical device on the knight that reduces her mana and explains that they could keep her imprisoned forever, but that would be a waste, so it's better to make her good. Meanwhile, Usato is training with Bellorin, but Rose suddenly appears, carrying the knight. Usato offers his condolences to the knight for what's about to happen to her. That night, Usato goes to Rose's room, and she informs him that the king has chosen 3 heroes, including him, because he believes they can accomplish this mission. The next day, Usato is walking through the city when he runs into Suzumi. Suddenly, Usato notices the fox girl. He grabs her, lifts her off the ground, and tells her, "We need to talk." The girl calmly tells him that she has been waiting for him, and now it's time for him to repay his debt to her, asking him to heal her mother. Suzumi gets really excited when she sees her because she has fox ears and a tail. At that moment, she talks to Amako and tells her, "You're the only one who can save my mother." We learn that this girl's name is Amako, and she's from a fox tribe. She says to Usato that she wants to continue talking with him alone. Meanwhile, the knight is still training, and the rest of the team is teasing her because she's very slow, even though she's very strong. She can't handle the intense effort and sits down on the ground exhausted. Then Rose comes to her and yells at her to keep running. At that time, Usato is with Amako, and she's not opposed to Suzumi hearing her secret because she trusts that Suzumi won't tell anyone. Usato then asks her about the spirit, and she explains that she had to show it to him or the heroes would have died, and the kingdom would have been destroyed. Amako tells him that she saw this vision a year ago, but she didn't want to abandon the people she's been with here. Usato's team learns that she's been looking for a healer the entire time, and she had been living in the monster zone. Suzumi knows that the monster zone is far from here. Amako then explains that she didn't have any other way to save her mother. She left the monster zone because only humans could be born with healing magic. Usato asks her why she didn't ask Orga at his clinic, and Amako tells him that she couldn't bring her mother along, and she never told Rose because Rose is frightening and had seen a vision where she refused her request. Suzumi understands this because of Rose's high status. Because of all of this, Usato is the only one left to help her. Amako says that the moment she saw Usato, she knew he would go with her because he's the kind of person who helps others, which is why she saw his future. She asks him to go with her to the monster zone and save her mother. Suzumi tells her that it's a very difficult task because Usato has become an important figure in the kingdom now. Amako shouts at her, but Usato says he might be able to do it and asks Suzumi if she's heard of their journey to deliver the letters. Suzumi says she has heard of it and understands what Usato is thinking. They might be able to visit the monster tribe zones while they're traveling. Usato tells Amako that if she feels any threat from Suzumi, she should scream loudly. Usato then goes to Rose and tells her that Amako is a seer, but Rose doesn't believe him and says he must report it to King Lloyd first. Usato is surprised that this is serious, but Rose explains that seers are responsible for disasters and passing information to the monster races. If one like them is in the kingdom, it could lead to a war between the monster factions. Rose is also planning to visit the monster factions. After that, Usato and Amako learn that the matter will take some time due to her abilities. Usato reassures her, saying that the king will approve their request, but it will take a little while. She understands and tells him that she'll return home today. Before leaving, she thanks him and is happy. That night, the rescue team is eating, but the knight refuses to eat with them. Usato comes to her and tells her that she needs to eat because she might pass out from hunger. She's upset that this misery will last another day and says she wants to return to prison. Usato laughs and gives her something he bought from the market that day, a notebook, and tells her to write everything she experiences daily, as it might make things easier for her. The knight is happy and eats while feeling reassured when she sees Yusato eating with her too. The next day, the knight decides to write as Yusato advised her. She writes that on the second day, she was running so much that she fell to the ground, and Rose came to hit her so she could keep running. She's confused why the rescue team is laughing at her while she's lying on the ground crying, and she thinks they're just crazy. On the fifth day, Yusato runs with them, and she notices that he hasn't broken down yet and says that he's a human but not quite. On the 10th day, they hear a strange sound from the forest, but she doesn't know what it is and decides to stop training and check it out. When she goes to see, Yusato is training with Rose and takes a very powerful hit, which makes her think he's dead. Suddenly, he uses healing magic, and nothing seems to be wrong with him. Rose yells at him for not dodging the hit as she asked, but Yusato explains that every time he tries to dodge, the trajectory changes and hits him. The knight is scared of them both and hears Rose tell Yusato to stop talking until he can actually dodge her attacks. They start again, and the knight is shocked when Rose disappears and almost strikes Yusato, but he finally manages to dodge her hit, which leaves the knight stunned. Rose tells him not to neglect his defense and strikes him again, sending him flying into a tree. The knight wants to check on him but is suddenly surprised to see him happy because he finally dodged Rose's strike. Rose is also pleased with the result, unlike the knight, who is completely shocked and says that Yusato can't be human. Rose calls for Yusato to continue the training as she requested. Yusato takes the knight aside, telling her that Rose is right, and she's a true monster. The knight responds, "No monster is as real as you hear." Yusato asks her name, and she tells him it's Phil. At that moment, Blorin appears, and Yusato takes him, and they start running together. Phil is upset and runs after them, becoming faster than them, and Yusato asks her to slow down so she doesn't tire herself out, but she doesn't listen. At dinner, Phil collapses from exhaustion after all the effort she put in. At that moment, she wakes up and hears Yusato talking to Rose, telling her to go to King Lloyd and take Amako with her. She's sure that the king has made a decision about their request. The next day, Yusato and Amako are at the castle, and King Lloyd thanks Amako for coming and saving the kingdom. He tells her that he wants to help her as much as he can and informs Yusato that they've set the course for his journey as he requested. Yusato and Amako are overjoyed, and the king tells Yusato that Wealthy will explain the remaining details. Wealthy tells Yusato that he will visit 3 regions before going to the monster faction zone. The heroes will accompany him on the journey but won't complete it with him, and he will also have 2 knights with him. Yusato suggests bringing the knight Orok, and he successfully does so. He also brings Blorin as his special knight assistant. At that moment, Phil is running from something and is terrified because Rose is chasing her quickly and strikes her. Phil is upset because she wants to escape, and she also hears about Yusato's journey, but she wants to go with him. Rose tells her they'll return to their original home to train and then discuss the situation. To the west, Yusato meets Phil, and she's upset because he's leaving and will leave her behind. Yusato laughs at her until she gets upset and walks away. He then meets Rose, who tells him that this journey will teach him many things, and she's expecting more from him. Yusato is moved and decides to continue his life with her and his friends in this world. He says goodbye to his friends and sets off from the castle,